This is Paul with Good Time Comics. Today I'm going to try and show you how to draw a cat. Just remember one thing, there's no actual wrong way to draw a cat. They all look weird as all get out. Alright, as you can see, I started out here drawing basically the shape of an egg, gave it some triangle ears, and then went with that, sketched it out, and decided, that looks like an egg. I'm not going to draw that, and moved on. Now, then I went with cat playing with a ball of yarn. Started with the circle for the yarn, an oval for the head, triangles for ears, then you start adding the little effects to the face that you want to keep. Face. An important thing to remember with any drawing you're going to do is never lock yourself down. When you're doing the sketch, just play with it. Draw general shapes, loosely work it until you get the design that you're happy with, and just keep working it. And once you have that design that you think is what you're finally going to want, then you hit it with the darker lines, depending on what medium you're using. That could be pencils, ink, paint, whatever. But don't feel like you've got to erase every little sketch, every little mark, especially in the early stage. Just use a light pencil, draw very lightly, and get that design that makes you happy. Now, if you look at the cat's face, I start with thin lines around the beginning, and as I go along, I will eventually come back and sort of make those lines a little darker, a little heavier, so just be sure and keep an eye on that. I guess at this point I should sort of tell you how I created this specific drawing. I used Procreate on an iPad with the Apple Pencil. Most of the drawing was created with a paintbrush actually, and then for some of the detail lines I swapped to an ink brush and used the studio brush for that one. I cannot remember what the name of the paintbrush was I used, sorry. It's customized anyway, so it wouldn't really help you too much to tell you which one I did. I'm not going through all the steps on how I adjusted it to draw the way I want. The trick with the ball of yarn, if you're looking at the yarn and wondering how I made a ball of yarn, is I broke it into small sections, as you can see. And in those sections I drew sort of lines going certain ways, and then once I had that direction sort of full, I would take a thicker line and go over and sort of trace the outline edges, giving it a little darker in some areas and little thinner lines in other areas to sort of give it some depth. Did the same with the outside of the cat, with the fur edges. I tried to use thicker lines in some areas, thinner lines for the facial features. The paws have little smaller lines. Anytime I basically go over one line where it touches another line, I try to make it a little thicker, but that's just because I personally enjoy a thick line that gives it a hard contrast, specifically because this cat picture may possibly end up in yet another coloring book if I produce another one. I'm playing with the idea, haven't decided if I want to go through with it because it takes up a little bit of time and I'm rather busy. Now, when drawing your own cat, remember, add in little details to give it a little bit of depth if you want to. You can make little fur lines, as you see on the cat's stomach here that I added. I wasn't going to do that, but I decided it was too empty and I wanted to add something. Give the tail some fur lines. Give the paw some fur lines. You can give cats have stripes. There's no really wrong way to make the cat look. And same thing with the ball of yarn. Have fun with it. Don't just make it all go in one direction. Change it up and give it a little bit of texture by changing up all the directions of all the lines and vary the width of those lines. It'll add some depth, which in the end just makes it look better. Now for the loose yarn coming off the yarn ball, if you've never drawn something that's going underneath or over something, remember there's going to be variations. If you're going on top of something, having it go under, you want to make the lines go right up to the edge. You don't want to see a variation in the width as it goes underneath, which is common to do. I caught myself doing it several times here, where the pen would make it a little thinner because I was beginning to pull up on the pen, which made the line shrink, and I had to go back and try and fix it later on. So keep an eye on that. It's easy to do. Then when it comes to if you want a background, like here I decided I didn't want just a white background. So I drew basically like a tile floor sort of. And I played with making additional little black lines and what would be the grout area of a tile. Although I initially was going to put it on the larger areas, and then I changed my mind about it. And then, as you can see here, I just decided to call this Catter Days. just playing around. This was a cat I drew simply just to relax, and I would love to see somebody else try and make their own versions. Give it some more fur, make it less fur, bigger ears, bend the ear. Draw your own version. Tag me in it. I'd love to see it. Instagram at Good Time Comics. Tag me in it. I'd love to see your own versions. And I hope this video shows you how to make a cat. If you have any questions, hit me up on Instagram or somewhere, or even on YouTube right here. I'll be glad to look at them. Have fun drawing.